People say God wants us to behave, act in a certain way. And it says when we do the right thing, it gives pleasure to God. It gives pleasure to God. Does God need our good deeds? Does it make a difference to God if you eat kosher, you don't eat kosher? Makes no difference to him. Doesn't change him. If God is perfect on the absolute level, what do you mean? It brings pleasure to God. When you do his will, we serve God. Does God need our service? I'll give you an example. You spend $100,000, you go on one of these trips to Africa somewhere, and they take you into an area. We have every species of monkeys, chimpanzees, orangutans, whatever they are, apes, everything under the sun. And you walk in the area, and all the apes and orangutans and monkeys, they all start making noise and they start prostrating themselves before you. And also the person believes, I must be special. Something's funny here. They're all bowing to me. All these monkeys and these apes and these orangutans and all these misfits. And the person all feels ingratiated, feels valued. This guy better get his head examined. Do you know who's bowing? What are you talking about? They're a bunch of monkeys and orangutans and apes and misfits. God is something we can't fathom. That's how perfect he is. When we do his will, we excite him. You know, as they say, give me a break. The whole thing sounds like it's nonsense. You go out to the Australian outback, bunch of pygmies. They dance around you 15 hours a day in their ceremonial costumes, beating their drums, having bones coming out of both ears. And you get excited. And you have a tape, so when you come back, you could show it in your 50-foot screen in the penthouse apartment on Fifth Avenue. And people say, it's unbelievable. You know, I wish I was there. Okay. You say, you know something? You see the balcony? Just go off. You'll be there. As they say, wake up and die right. Okay. So we do the will of God. It gives a pleasurable moment to God. When we act as we should, we follow his prescription to the T. What's it all about? You know what the answer is? As we said it endless times, why did God create this world? God needs nothing. God is perfect on an absolute level because God is the essence of good. He does good. Not that he has a need to do good. A need means there's a deficiency. God has no needs. He does good. And he wants us to be the beneficiaries of the ultimate good, to have a relationship with him. How do you have a relationship with him? You have to meet certain criteria. You have to reflect his absoluteness. And God gave us a prescription of life to be able to develop and spiritualize ourselves, to advance and expand our souls. And that comes through actualizing the Torah, studying Torah, doing the commandments, the mitzvos. So when you go and you do, despite all the reasons not to do, and you meet the challenge and you do the right thing, what have you accomplished? You've accomplished the objective of creation, that you should be beneficiary of his goodness, because that's what he wants. So it says you give him pleasure. It's not you give him pleasure. It's only to say you've met the criteria which allows the objective of creation to come about. That's all it means. You're doing nothing for God. We read in Hazinu, that's next to the last portion of the Torah, It's called a shira. It's a song where God says, "You people are fools. Do you think when you hurt yourself, you're hurting me? You're only hurting yourselves." There's an expression in English: people cut off their noses to spite their faces. That's what they do. Person says, something? If you don't give me the bonus, I'm not going to eat. Something? So I don't eat. I'm going with a hunger strike, and I'm going to die. You want to die? So die. What does that have to do with me? You're the victim. I'm not the victim. That's no ultimatum to me. That's an ultimatum to yourself, not to me. Same thing God says. Whenever you choose to be defiant, you're only hurting yourselves, because that's the basis to be denied everything that you should want. But because you're acting foolishly, you've contrived and distorted reality that you think you're hurting me, but you're not hurting me. Because you are the victim, not God's not a victim. God can't be a victim. One of the 13 tenets of Jewish belief is from the first tenets, he's not subject to what any form is subject to. Not subject. He can't be harmed. Because harm means you can diminish what he is, or any influences, because he's absolute, he's infinite. So therefore, there's a pasuk in Tehillim which David says, Yichor Hashem la'olam. God's glory should be forever. David, Yismach Hashem b'masov. God rejoices with his handiwork. When he sees mankind following his prescription of life, he rejoices when he sees this. Why? Because now the objective of creation is being fulfilled. That's the concept. He's rejoicing. It's happening. It's working out. But if you don't, you misbehave. Then it's failing. But the whole basis of success and failure is bent on what? On free choice. So when he sees mankind making the right choice, he rejoices. Because now everything's attributed to themselves. Because everything's predestined except free choice. So to utilize the choice to make the right choice to bring about what it's meant to bring about. Therefore, Yichor Hashem L'olam, as though God's glory is forever. Yismach Hashem b'masov. He will rejoice with his handiwork, with his creation. The Mesilas Yesharim, which is the same author, the Ramchal writes in the chapter on Chasidus. What's Chasidus? Tzaddik is righteous. Chosid is devout piety, pious. And the Talmud says, why is a Chosid called a Chosid? It comes from the word Chesed. Chesed is indiscriminate kindness. Kindness. Because the person is a Chosid, he does Chesed with his maker. He does chesed with his creator. What does that mean? He goes beyond his level of obligation. For instance, a person has an obligation to wear tefillin. So you're not exceptionally pious. You're doing what you're supposed to do. What about you're concerned? I'll give you an example. My mashgiach used to say, people, they go to shul, they have the tefillin. And then when they finish, they take the tefillin home. Why? Why do they tefillin home? It's not because they're concerned it's going to be stolen in shul, but they take it home because you never know. Somebody may come up that I may not be able to come to shul tomorrow. And I don't have another pair at home, so I leave it, so I take it home. Now the question is, well, why aren't you going to go to shul tomorrow? You know, answer, because I may sleep late. I may have an early phone call and I may not be able to go to shul. But the fact is, you shouldn't sleep late because the proper location to pray is in shul, in the synagogue. So a person is a chassid, you know what he does? He doesn't even want that eventuality to happen. He leaves the tefillin in shul. Knowing he has a tefillin in shul and he doesn't have another pair at home, he's forced to make sure to get up early to be there on time. Otherwise, he's going to suffer embarrassment. So he's doing things to make sure that the will of God is going to be addressed. Otherwise, there's a chance, but I'll daven at home. Davening at home is not the same as davening, firstly, with a quorum, and davening at a shul. It's not the reality. So you want to do something to satisfy God, although you're not obligated. I want to do more. If I can do more, I prefer to do more. And he equates it. A person loves his father. His father doesn't even ask for something. But you know, if you get this for your father, he'd be very happy and give him tremendous comfort and joy. Your father never asked for it. But because due to your love for your father, you come up with various ideas how to satisfy him, how to make him happy. A person is a chassid. He thinks of ways, in what way will God see him in a better light? Not for him. Because since he reveres God and he understands who God is, as much as he does, he never does enough. So he always comes up with new approaches, how to do the mitzvah better, how to serve him better, how to be more subservient. That's why he's called a chassid. He has no obligation. I've done what I'm supposed to do. You know, when I was a student, I'm not going to record this.